Have you ever wondered why you can understand a YouTube video perfectly, but the moment you watch a movie or speak to a native speaker, you feel completely lost? It's frustrating, isn't it? You think you're at one level, but reality tells you something else. Today, we are going to fix that mystery once and for all. We are not just going to test your grammar, we are going to test your ear. I'm going to take you on a journey through 6 different levels of English proficiency, from the very basics all the way to native level mastery. By the end of this video, you won't just hope you know your level, you will know it for a fact. Intro. Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are doing something a little different. Instead of a standard lesson, this is a challenge designed to help you discover exactly where you stand in your English journey. We are going to use the CEFR standard. That's the Common European Framework of Reference. We will start at level A1, the absolute beginner level, and climb the ladder step by step all the way to level C2, which represents mastery. Here's how it works. I'm going to tell you 6 different stories. Each story corresponds to a specific level of difficulty. As we progress, the vocabulary will get richer, the grammar will get more complex, and the speed will become more natural. Your job is simply to listen, close your eyes if you want to, and focus. After each story, ask yourself, did I understand 100% of that? Did I get the details or just the main idea? This is the most effective way to test your English level accurately and honestly. Are you ready to find out where you stand? Let's begin. Level A1, the beginner. We are starting with level A1. If you are just starting your journey, this story is for you. The sentences are short, the words are common, and the pace is clear. Focus on the simple details. Let me introduce you to a man named Leo. Leo is 30 years old. He lives in a very quiet place. His home is in a small town next to the big blue sea. Leo likes his life because it is easy and simple.
Every day is the same for Leo. In the morning, his alarm rings at 6 a.m. He opens his eyes. His bedroom is small, but it is warm. The sun comes through the window. The light hits his face. He wakes up and he feels happy. He stretches his arms. Then he stands up. Leo walks to his kitchen. He does not drink coffee. He likes tea. He thinks tea is soft and light. He drinks his hot tea very slowly. He looks out the window at his street. It is quiet. He sees a bakery. He sees the blue sky. Sometimes he sees an old man walking with a happy dog. At 7 a.m., Leo leaves his house. He walks to work. He works at a bookstore. He loves the smell of the old books. He likes the sound of the pages turning. He helps people find good stories. This makes him smile. At 5 p.m., the store closes. Leo walks home. The sky is orange now. The air is cool. He eats dinner, listens to soft music, and reads. This is Leo's day. It is not a big life, but it is a good life. Okay, take a breath. How was that? If you understood every word of Leo's story, his routine, his preference for tea over coffee, and his job, then congratulations, you have fully mastered the A1 level. You have a solid foundation. But now, things are going to get a little bit more detailed. Level A2, the elementary student. Let's move up to level A2. In this story, we will introduce the past tense and describe feelings and emotions. The sentences will flow a bit more. Listen to Rosa's story. This is a story about Rosa. When Rosa was 19 years old, she made a big decision. She decided to leave her parents' home in a small village and move to the capital city. Her village was a place where everyone knew everyone. Farmers worked in the fields, and people went to sleep early. But Rosa wanted more. She wanted to see tall skyscrapers and busy streets. Her parents were worried, but they supported her. They gave her a hug and a little bit of money, and Rosa took a long bus ride to the city.
When she arrived, the city was loud. The cars moved fast, and people walked with serious faces. Rosa felt very small in such a big place.
She found a tiny apartment to share with 2 other girls. The walls were thin and the kitchen was old, but Rosa loved it because it was her first real home. She found a job at a busy cafe. On her first day, she was terrified. Her hands shook. She had to learn how to use the coffee machine and take orders quickly. She made many mistakes. Once, she gave a man the wrong drink. Another time, she dropped a cup. She thought her manager would be angry, but her manager, Sophia, was kind. She told Rosa, "Don't worry, the only real mistake is to stop trying." 6 months later, Rosa was promoted. She wasn't scared anymore. She helped train new workers. She realized that making mistakes was just a normal part of learning. Did you catch the shift in time? We moved from the present to the past. If you understood Rosa's journey, her fear, and her success, you are comfortable at the A2 level. You can handle basic storytelling. Now, let's bridge the gap to the intermediate levels. Level B1, the intermediate speaker. Level B1 is a major milestone. This is where many learners stay for a long time. The grammar becomes more varied, and we start talking about dreams, regrets, and life changes. This is Daniel's story. Meet Daniel. At 25, Daniel felt stuck. He was working at a technology company, earning a decent salary and living in a secure apartment, but he wasn't happy. Every morning he woke up tired, not physically, but emotionally. His life felt like a long, straight road with no turns and no colors. One cold evening in January, something shifted. Daniel was sitting on a crowded train after work. Across from him sat a mother and her little daughter. The little girl was drawing in a notebook with bright colors, a green tree, a yellow sun, a blue lake. She showed it to her mother and said, "This is where I want to go someday."
Seeing that little girl's pure excitement woke something up inside Daniel. He remembered that he used to have dreams too. He used to want to travel, see mountains, and learn languages, but he had convinced himself it was too late. The next morning, Daniel didn't just go to work. He went to his office, sat down, and booked a 2-week holiday to Japan. He didn't speak Japanese, and he didn't know anyone there. It was terrifying, but it was also exciting. When he arrived in Japan 2 months later, his world changed. He walked through neon-lit streets, visited quiet temples, and tried foods like takoyaki. He realized the world was huge and his fears were small. That trip didn't just give him a break, it gave him a new perspective. He learned that life pushes you sometimes, and you have to be brave enough to move. That was B1. Did you understand Daniel's internal struggle? The metaphor about the straight road? If you followed the emotional change in this story effortlessly, you are solidly intermediate. You are essentially an independent English user. Level B2, the upper intermediate. Now we enter the territory of advanced listening practice. At level B2, we deal with more descriptive language, specific vocabulary related to nature and emotions, and complex sentence structures. Let's listen to Jack's story about the mountain. Jack's story isn't about success, it is a story about failure, and why failure is sometimes the best teacher. When Jack was 27, he became obsessed with climbing a famous peak on the northern border of his country. It was a jagged, snow-covered mountain that looked like a blade cutting the sky. He trained for months. He would run up hills with a heavy backpack and spend his savings on professional gear, thermal boots, and a heavy jacket that felt like armor. Everyone warned him, "The mountain is beautiful, but it is not gentle. You must respect it." When the climbing season arrived, Jack joined a team led by a woman named Mira. Mira was a woman of few words, but she walked with a rhythm that suggested she knew the mountain's heartbeat. The climb started well. They moved through pine forests and crossed rushing rivers. But as they ascended, the atmosphere changed. The wind began to cut through their clothes like a knife. Just 400 meters from the summit, a storm rolled in. The sky turned dark, and the temperature plummeted. Mira stopped the group. She looked at the clouds and gave the order, "Turn back."
Jack was devastated. The summit was right there. He could almost touch it. He felt angry and ashamed. He felt he had wasted months of training. But the mountain didn't care about his dreams. It only cared about the weather. The descent was painful emotionally, but over the next few weeks, Jack's anger turned into humility. He realized that the mountain had taught him discipline and patience. He learned that nature cannot be controlled, and that knowing when to quit is sometimes braver than continuing. How did you do with Jack's climb? Did you catch words like jagged, plummeted, and humility? If you understood the nuance of why he felt like a failure but later accepted it, you were operating at a B2 level. You can understand complex narratives and abstract ideas. Level C1, the advanced speaker. We are getting serious now. Level C1 is advanced. Here, we move away from simple physical actions and talk about philosophy, perception, and academic concepts. The vocabulary is precise. Listen to Helena's reflection on education. Narrator reads the story. Helena was a third-year university student studying psychology. Like many young academics, she was arrogant. She thought she understood how the world worked because she had memorized theories and definitions. She walked across campus with a confidence built on shallow foundations. Everything changed when she took a class with Dr. Morgan. He was a thin, elderly professor with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see right through you. He never raised his voice. He commanded attention through silence. On the first day, Dr. Morgan asked the class, "What is the purpose of education?" The students gave standard answers: to get a job, to gain knowledge, to be independent. Dr. Morgan listened politely, then shook his head. "The purpose of education," he said softly, "is not to fill your mind with facts. It is to train your mind to see." He explained that there is a difference between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence is solving problems. Wisdom is understanding people. He sent the students out into the city with a strange assignment: simply observe. Helena spent a week confused, just looking at things, until one evening she watched an old man feeding pigeons in a park. It was a mundane scene, but she noticed the look of absolute peace on the man's face. She realized she had been rushing through life, missing these profound moments of quiet beauty. That class taught her that true understanding comes not from speaking, but from paying attention to what is not being said. That was level C1. We dealt with concepts like arrogance, shallow foundations, and mundane. If you could follow Dr. Morgan's philosophical distinction between intelligence and wisdom, your English is excellent. You are ready for professional or academic environments. Level C2, the mastery level. And finally, the ultimate challenge, level C2. This is near native proficiency. The language here is poetic, metaphorical, and dense. It deals with the human condition in deep introspection. Let's hear Nicholas Hartley's story. This is a narrative about silence. Not silence as the mere absence of noise, but silence as a living presence, a force that can reshape the human spirit from the inside out. 10 years ago, Nicholas Hartley was a journalist living in a metropolis that never slept. His existence was a relentless cycle of deadlines, breaking news, and artificial urgency. He was addicted to the noise, both the external cacophony of the city and the internal clutter of a mind that refused to settle. He was suffering from a burnout he refused to acknowledge, a slow emotional disintegration. One winter morning, something in him simply snapped. It wasn't dramatic, it was a subtle fracture, like ice cracking on a frozen lake. He realized he was carrying an invisible weight that had become unbearable. On a whim, he took a leave of absence and rented a secluded cabin on the edge of a dense, primordial forest.
When he arrived, the silence was aggressive. It felt heavy, almost suffocating. He realized how terrified he was of being alone with his own thoughts. But as the days passed, the silence began to soften. It transformed from an enemy into a companion. One afternoon, he stood by a frozen lake. The air was sharp and clean. As he stood there, letting the cold fill his lungs, he began to weep. It wasn't out of sadness, but out of a profound release, a catharsis. The silence had scrubbed his mind clean, polishing his thoughts the way a river smooths a stone. He learned that while intelligence allows us to navigate the world, it is silence that allows us to understand our place within it. That was the peak, level C2. Words like cacophony, primordial, disintegration, and catharsis were used. If you understood Nicholas's journey from burnout to spiritual clarity, you have essentially mastered listening in English.
Conclusion. Take a deep breath. We have traveled from a simple morning with tea to a philosophical realization in a frozen forest. I want you to be honest with yourself now. Where did you start to lose track? Was it when Jack climbed the mountain at B2? Was it the philosophy of Dr. Morgan at C1? Or did you stay with me all the way to the frozen lake at C2? Whatever your result, remember, a test is just a snapshot of today. It is not a definition of your potential. Language is a staircase, and you just identified which step you are standing on. Now you know exactly what you need to work on to reach the next one. If you enjoyed this challenge and want to improve your score, make sure to hit that like button. It helps us create more comprehensive guides for you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to English Glow. We are dedicated to lighting up your path to fluency. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next lesson.